It's Super Bowl 45. We've got two Pittsburgh guys, and we're in the new pregame TV studios. I'm excited, Marco. I'm a little leery about this game. As a Steeler guy, I would have loved to have played any other team in the NFC. This is the one team that scares me, and the reason is simple. Pittsburgh is not elite against elite passers. Their defense is above average or so against elite passers. Against every other type of team, we dominate. That scares me a little bit. What's some of your thoughts on this game?
Well, clearly, as a Pittsburgh fan, I would have rather seen us facing the Bears and Jay Cutler, for sure.
Especially if Jay Cutler was limping around.
For sure. I'd still take a healthy Jay Cutler versus an Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers, no question, he's had a great playoffs. They've done it the hard way. All 3 games on the road against Philadelphia, Atlanta, Chicago. He's going to present problems for the Steelers, but I think, and we talked about it before, you've got Dom Capers for Green Bay. We've got Dick LeBeau. Dick LeBeau is the father of the zone blitz. Dom Capers worked with Dick LeBeau in Pittsburgh, and really, I don't know if you know it or not, if you've talked about it on any of your radio shows. Do you know that there's 9 different coaches on the Green Bay staff that have ties to Pittsburgh?
ESPN.com's been doing that kind of stuff. I didn't know that number, though.
And so they're definitely, you talk about motivation, for Green Bay. But I think Pittsburgh will be able to neutralize Aaron Rodgers. He's going to get his yards, but let's face it, everybody looks at the success that the New England Patriots have had over the years against the Steelers.
With heavy passing, quick passing with lots of passes.
Lots of passes, and they spread the field so that, you try to minimize, the damage that a Troy Polamalu can do,
that's one of your, you just hit a key point. Steelers against a really good wide receiver, I'm not so afraid of, because Ike Taylor is really a good cover corner. Once you get to that second, third, and fourth cover guys, in Troy being not necessarily a pure cover guy, that's where I get worried.
So Pittsburgh, 2 weeks to prepare with LeBeau. I like that.
So we got LeBeau Capers, we got the teacher versus the student to some degree. And in general, I think it's hard to know, the gut feeling, the 8th grade kind of gut feeling is, the teacher knows more. But, I think historically that hasn't always been the case, that the teacher is dominated. So I don't think there's any real edge there.
Well, obviously, the best example that anybody can give is Parcells and Belichick when you talk about mentor and student. And clearly Belichick, has outweighed Parcells in what he's been able to do at New England. This is going to be a game that, you've talked about it before. Everybody's talked about it. But it's something that cannot be ignored in this game. Experience. Pittsburgh Steelers, this will be their 3rd Super Bowl in 6 years. Think about that. You look at the NFC, and this is the 10th different team to be in the Super Bowl in the last 10 years. And the Steelers have been here 3 times in 6 years.
So there's 2 ways that experience can go. One, and I think it's the case in this case, is an advantage in that that the Super Bowl was a different animal, and the Steelers understand it. The Packers, it's the first time. The way it can go as a disadvantage is a sense of complacency, not being hungry. I think the Patriots in that 16-0 season probably fell into that category. I get a sense that Pittsburgh looks at themselves as not lucky to be here, but they had to overcome a lot of adversity to be here. Big Ben suspension, the offensive line problems. I can't imagine they're going to take this game for granted, especially considering they're an underdog in this game.
Well, there's one guy that's not going to take it for granted, and that's Ben Roethlisberger. And, Ben, you can't look at this Pittsburgh season and not look at Ben and be the focus. I mean, because, as you said, nobody even gave the Steelers a shot to be here. I know you predicted them,
22-1 on ESPN, baby.
There you go. And ironically enough, my prediction at the beginning of the season was
Green Bay. Are you trying to steal my thunder?
No, I was
Green Bay was like 4-1.
No, they were 10-1. But it was a situation, because coming in from the preseason, Green Bay looked tremendous. But Green Bay had their own share of injuries during the season.
Fair enough. So let's do this, and not trying to take away from your betting the chalk or whatever you want to call it. but no, all joking aside, here's the thing. ESPN's breaking this game down on ad nauseum. Here's my question to you, and then let's talk about the betting side of things, because we're not going to do better than John Clayton breaking these games down, and that's not what we do best. Will Green Bay, in your opinion, try. What I've been reading lately is their coach believes you got to get 30 runs in no matter what. So there's really two ways this game could be played. Green Bay tries to run, even though it's borderline futile. They run 30 times for 65 yards or some variation of that. Or number two, they say, we can't run, we're going to pass every down and spread them out, a la New England. To me, I think there's pros and cons of both sides for the Pittsburgh side. What's your gut feeling on how this game is going to be played?
I think Green Bay knows they can't win this game on the ground. No matter what, you can talk all the good talk that you can talk. Nobody has shown they can do that against the Steelers, and it's not like Green Bay.
And they're not even that good at it.
That's the point I was just
going to say.
the
Jets were a team of pride themselves are running, and they gave up.
Right. So they're going to spread the field. They're going to throw the ball, and you've got the quarterback that can do that.
So if that is the case, I think that's negative for Pittsburgh, though it does open up one possibility, which is if you aren't max protecting, Pittsburgh's got some of the best pass rushing linebackers in the world. Great chance to get shots in on Rodgers. And let's be honest, the guy hasn't proven himself. He's either susceptible to concussions or whatever you want to call it, but he's not Big Ben. You put a couple of licks on him and it affects his game.
Well, it happened in the Chicago game. He was not the same quarterback in the second half after he took that shot in the first half. And I'm not going to say the Steelers are going to take a dirty shot, but the Steelers will let him know that he is in a football game. Anytime they
Plus,
can
if you get suspended the next game, it's the preseason.
Who cares? But yeah, well, actually the suspensions don't count in the preseason. It will carry over. But still, they're going to let him know that he's in a game. His uniform's going to be dirty.
If they do go that way, I think that we have that potential, but I also think if I was a Packers batter, I would want them to throw more, just roll the dice with those hits, because if they do insist on running, I think it's quite simply Pittsburgh will stay in their base defense, and it's not like Pittsburgh's going to have to crowd the, that's what you do. Oh, you get ready for the play action. Well, heck, Pittsburgh's going to stay in base anyway, so the play action won't affect them all that much. To me, I hope they do that if they try to run, because I think it's going to take one of their strengths away and play into one of the Steelers' weaknesses. Though I've really heard from sharp guys that McCarthy will not abandon the run in any circumstance. He doesn't believe in it, which kind of is a good thing. All right, let's talk about the line in this game. When it came out 2 or so, Green Bay, what was your thoughts?
I thought that's exactly where it was going to be. The Green Bay was going to be the mild favorite, even though they're the wild card team playing a number 2 seed. It's public perception. People are looking at the game, the way Green Bay's winning. And if you look at Pittsburgh, even though Pittsburgh won both of their games, both of the Steeler games came down to the final possession. Against Baltimore, they had to stop Baltimore on the final possession. And against the Jets, the Steelers had to extend that final drive to keep the ball out of their hands.
It went to the final possession in Chicago, Green Bay, and Philly, Green Bay.
But Green Bay,
I think it's that Atlanta game. That Atlanta game is what's been the statement game, as you call it, for the Aaron Rodgers fan club.
Both games, the Atlanta game and the Philly game, Green Bay, just like Pittsburgh did against the Jets, Green Bay had the lead early and was in control of that whole game, and then it got close at the end. But the Chicago game, really, Chicago had no shot in the game. I know
they
it got
were
down
on the 30-yard line with the ball.
I know. If watching the game, and
with
I had
with a
Chicago
backup quarterback. I haven't heard this conversation, which is, my God, they hardly won the game with a backup quarterback for the whole second half.
I had Chicago and never felt comfortable in that game.
No, I tend to agree with you there too. So, but I wouldn't have felt very comfortable with the Jets either, as much as they had a chance. But okay, so I would tend to agree with you that this line should probably be pick or 1, and it's 2.5. So there's a little value, though it's kind of hard to think that it's worth betting because of that. I'm actually going to officially project Pittsburgh to win this game 24-20. All that said, I look at this line as being about right, and I'm probably not going to bet the side. I think there's a ton of value in props. Now, I was listening to Jay Kornegay, the Hilton Sportsbook director. He said this is a rare game where the wise guys are actually on both sides, with a little bit more wise guy action on Pittsburgh. He says he expects the public action to be on Green Bay, but he doesn't expect the line to move to 3. Now, there's some 3s out there, but you always got to look at that juice.
Right.
And if the juice is going to be, you're laying 125 or 130 to take 3, it's really not like you have 3, because 3's worth about 25 cents. So you could either lay 2.5 at -110 or lay 3 at +115, and it would be an equal lay. So I don't expect the line to move.
I agree with you 100%. They're not. It's too key of a number, and everybody remembers Black Sunday Super Bowl with the Steelers.
Well, some of us, some people weren't born.
Yeah. Well, you can ask any
was that your 30th birthday?
Yeah,
when the Steelers
you can ask any
13?
sportsbook operator. They still remember it. Trust me.
They'll
never forget that day.
You bring that old school perspective to the table.
That's what I'm here for.
The new studio doesn't change that.
Well, I am what I am, Sam. I am.
All right. I also think, last point, and then I'll let you close, is I think it's interesting that at halftime of the Steeler game, when they were blowing out the Jets and Green Bay was already in the Super Bowl, the line came out at Pinnacle at Pick'em. Mm-hmm. So really, the Steelers' second half performance adjusted that line by 2 points, which really shows you how short-term the public is thinking, which is an advantage for the bettor typically. But since both teams are marquee here, it's not like you can just fade the marquee team and gain value. You're really not getting that this year. If Pittsburgh had played Atlanta or something, you could have played Atlanta and gotten value. But I don't think the old standbys in the Super Bowl of fading the public team works here because they're both public.
I'll say one thing about the second half, and I was there in the frigid cold in Pittsburgh. People are reacting to that second half. My thing is, I really do believe that Pittsburgh almost shut it down. I sensed it in the crowd that when they went into halftime and we were up 21, people shut it down. And the biggest play of that game was the field goal before the end of the half, because the thing is, once the shutout was gone, and this is a thing in football.
The biggest play in the game was when they intercepted the pass.
I
understand what you're
Hear
saying.
me for a second.
Point.
A defense, when they're tossing a shutout, it doesn't matter if they're up 50 points. They play with the same intensity when the goose egg is still on the board. Once it's gone, there's like, okay, now we've got a big lead. It's not a shutout. And I think that was the difference that let the Jets get it back into that game.
All right, guys, listen. We got tons of stuff. We got props. We're going to do more videos. We got stuff in the forums. Pregame.com. Don't miss it. It's your Super Bowl betting headquarters. And we'll be back with some more videos on the Super Bowl and some college basketball for Saturday.